Good morning, church. As you're able, please rise for the reading of God's Word. Today we're reading from Matthew 6, verses 19 through 24. Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. The eye is the lamp of the body. So if your eye is healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eye is bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light is in you is darkness, how great is the darkness? No one can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and money. This is the word of the Lord. You may be seated.
All right. Well, by the end of this time that I have with you today, we'll understand that we will see how generous God is to us. And that because of his generosity to us, we're then able to live a life of gratitude and generosity. But in order to get there, we're going to go through kind of a pathway that might seem random or strange, but I promise you, we're going to arrive there. But before I get into these great verses that were just read, I do want to give appreciation and thanks that coming from Granada to here, we love Christ Church Miami. We are so thankful for you and what you're doing here, and we're just so excited. I've been friends with James and Heidi for over a decade, and James is such a great friend of mine. Drake has helped me out in all kinds of ways. He's trained me to get me ready for Army fitness tests, and he's done all kinds of stuff for me, and so I love Drake, his whole family. What about Heidi Drake? Is she like the most amazing person in the world? She is just an amazing woman of God that serves in so many ways. It's such a blessing. And so they were at Granada for a long time, and God was working out this amazing plan that he was working through people individually without telling them. And so as God was showing Kent what the future here was going to be over at Granada, we were planning church planting, and we wanted to start something out in West Kendall, and Drake was getting the burden to start a church, and he had been with us so long, and so we're like, we've got to invest in him to go and start a church. But then God changed it all and merged it to here. And so this is something that we're closely connected to, and we love it. And we were so happy to be a part of the beginnings of this and to continue. We will continue to be a part of this. Our church is invested in your future and what we have here. In fact, when we started, we said, Drake, we want you to be able to build a wonderful worship team, and that's what we wanted to be able to support in. And you guys have a beautiful worship service here. I enjoyed that so much. And I just love you. It's just a great experience we had here. And I'm so thankful for Jada. Jada was our guest services at Granada, and then now she's doing that here. And she's such a fabulous person. And so I'm thankful for her to be here. And then my friend Dr. Z from the Army Reserve, who also serves in the Army with us, she came as a guest with her friend Whitney, and so I'm so thankful. Just being here today it feels good to be with the people of God, right? Just to come and to see what God's doing in everyone's life and to be able to experience just his goodness through that. And so as we looked at the verses today, Matthew chapter 6, immediately you read that and you think, okay, we're going to talk about money today, right? Like, yeah, we are. We're going to talk about money, but it's so much more than that. Now, money's a weird thing to talk about, isn't it? Like, you don't talk about money with your friends, do you? You don't talk about how much you make or what your net worth is. It's rude. Like, if you were to sit across the table and say, oh, how much you make? Oh, how much you make? Nobody does that. Right? We don't share. That's private information. How many of you don't even tell your kids what your financial situation is? I never knew what my parents made, whether we were rich or poor or anything like that. Did you guys? Was I in a secluded world where money was this thing you didn't talk about? It's a private thing. It's sensitive. It's something that you don't want to really expose. But that creates a lot of unhealthy things, doesn't it? It creates a situation where we're afraid to talk about it, so we don't talk about it. And so we often have very wrong ideas about money in our life because it's not something that we deal with. Yet Jesus was never afraid to address the truth about money. He was very upfront about it, and it was very easy for him to speak about it. And so in this passage where it's talking about your treasure, he begins this little piece of this long sermon, takes us through a progression of some of the wrong ways we view money, and then what's the right way in it. Now, when you think about wrong ways that we view money, there's a lot of those. And music is often a great teller of what we really think about money. And so we'll use some music lines here later today. But also, you have like a money story in your head. And if you ever gone to financial counseling or even marriage counseling, as often comes brought up, is they'll ask you, like, what's your view? What is your earliest memory of what you think about money? And when I was thinking about that, it reminded me of my grandma. So my grandma grew up during the Depression, right? Way back in the 20s. She was a child of the Depression. Now, so her childhood and her view of money, everything was scarce in life and death, and are we going to eat or not eat, and you don't waste a thing, you reuse it, you have it to the end. Now, when I met my grandmother, that's not her life. My grandmother had a nice house, and she had everything, and everything was great, and we loved going over, and she cooked huge meals, and we would eat like crazy, like all the time, just eating at grandma's, and she's buying us gifts. So my grandma wasn't still in the Depression, she wasn't poor, but that carried over. And I remember she used to make biscuits, and then she would have this thing called Karo syrup, which is not healthy. But she would take that and mix it with butter, and that's what we would have a dessert, would be like Karo syrup, butter slathered over a biscuit, and that was amazing. But when that little jar was empty, I mean, nothing in it, I would be like, you'd throw that away, right? No, she would take a biscuit, put it on a fork, and she would get into that jar and get every last drip out of it. Now, she wasn't poor. It was probably a $2 jar. Throw the jar away, buy another one. But what was in her head? You don't waste anything. There's something in there we need to get because you don't know when you're going to run out. And because she grew up with that story in her head, it carried over. And here she was, a grandmother already, probably 60 years after those experiences. Yet it had changed who she was. Because how we think about money will change how we act. How we think about it directs what we do in life. And whatever that thought is, whether it's good or whether it's bad, it is changing how we behave, even if we don't think about it. And so in verse 19, it says, don't store for yourself treasures on earth where moths and vermin destroy, where thieves steal. He's showing us the negative. This idea we have that if I had more money, I could be happy. If I had more money, I would be safe. If I had more money, I would get rid of all my problems because that's all I need is just a little bit more. You might know this line if you liked hip hop growing up from the notorious B.I.G. It's like the more money we come across, the more problems we see. I should learn to rap it, right? It would have gone a lot better. Worship team at the end could, no, just kidding. The more money we have, the more problems. How many of you experienced that? How many of you look back and you remember when you were a kid, right? And life was carefree and things were provided for you and you just did and you had fun. You rode your bike in the yard, you played games and you just came and it was great. And then what happened? Adulthood hit. And now you have bills and you have to work to pay the bills and you have to work more to pay the bills. And then you just realize now I have all these things that when I was young I couldn't wait to have. But I didn't know the responsibilities that came with it. I didn't know the loss that comes with it. I didn't know that in order to have, I had to trade my time. And then when I traded my time, it started to hurt my relationships. And then when I lost my relationships, now I had to pay for that divorce. Now I'm just falling further and further and further. Because sometimes we think money's going to solve my problems. But often money just gives us more problems. Because it's not the money itself. It's our view of it. It's what we think it's going to do. See, if we think that it's going to be the solution of life, it's going to come out wrong for us. Maybe you weren't big into hip hop, but maybe you like country music, and I love this song. You can't buy happiness, but you can buy a boat. And when I hear that, I think, you know what? If I had a boat, I would be a happier person. I would just be out on the water, and it would be quiet, and it would just be peaceful. I could go anytime I wanted, and it would just be beautiful, right? Isn't that the way it works? Who has boats out there? Remember, pastors only work on Sunday morning, so you could take me out any day of the week you want, all right? Now, everyone knows, right? The best day of a boater's life is the day he gets rid of it, right? Or the best boat is your friend's boat because you don't have to do it. Because all the amount of work and cleaning and money and everything that goes into it, it really starts to compile. But the idea that if I just had this thing, man, I would have freedom. Oh, would I be at peace? And we tell ourselves these things. Maybe it's not a boat for you. Maybe it's that next car. Maybe if my house was bigger. Maybe if I lived in a different city. Maybe if I got the promotion. And we're always kind of thinking, if I got that next level up financially, then I'll be happy. Then I'll be satisfied. Then I'll be at peace. And yet, we learn time and time again that this is a chasing that we do, that we never arrive at any type of conclusion where we can say, finally, I made it. Now, this idea is what Jesus says in verse 19. Don't put your treasure in things because they're just going to fall apart. Your things are going to break. Everything loses value. Everything fades away. Everything eventually is worthless because you're going to move on to something greater. He says, but lay up for yourselves treasure in heaven. He's trying to change our mind from being focused on something that's just temporary to now something that's eternal. That's something that's of greater value. Now, because money is so important in our lives, there's a ton of studies about money and happiness. Just all over the place, all the time. You can find them anywhere. And most of the time, these studies show that the more money you have doesn't make you happier. In fact, there's usually like a median curve. They say that people who are below poverty line are very unhappy, and people who are very rich are very unhappy, that you want to be kind of in the middle. You want to make just enough not to be hungry, but not so much you're worried about losing it. And that's what that becomes like this numerical thing of what you want financially. But then they started to look at that and say, well, what about globally? Because that might be in the United States or that might be in a certain place. Is it really the dollar amount that matters? So in a Stanford Business Review, there was a study, and what they found across over 42 different countries and just really just looking at every type of economic system, they found that really it wasn't money that made happiness at all. It was people who found purpose had greater satisfaction and happy in life. So people who succeed in finding meaning experience both meaning and happiness. But those who can't find meaning aren't happy. Essentially, what these studies discover is where your treasure is, your heart will be also. What Jesus said very plainly 2,000 years ago and was written in front of us, we are struggling to find scientific proof for, or looking around to see if we can validate it. And guess what? It's true. Do not put your treasure in things that are going to fade away or rust or destroy, but put your treasure in that which is in heaven. He says, because where your heart is, that's where your treasure goes. See, the goal is actually your heart. It's not even money at all. Money's a tool. It's a thing that just spreads around and is used. In fact, even now, you don't even have cash, do you? We used to think of money as cash. Now money's just, right? It's in the air. It's a number on your phone. And yet for us, it's so valuable. But Jesus is moving you away from the idea of money into your heart. And so let's take that journey. And so Jesus says this, it is harder for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. Think about it. Why would Jesus say it's harder for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven? It's not because rich people are worse people or that money is evil and it will corrupt you if you get it. We often ascribe those things. We often ascribe a morality to our income levels and say, well, that's the wrong thing. Why did Jesus say it's harder for a rich man to enter in the kingdom of heaven? Because we place our trust in our ability for that money to save us. We think that if we can be financially secure, we could solve our problems. That if we have enough, that I can then do what it takes within my power to solve things. I can fix this, I can buy this, I can take care of myself. I won't have this issue. And we can think that the money now becomes our God. It's easy for us sometimes to think, well, that's the super rich person. That's that greedy slime ball, that's that kind of person. Not me, I'm not even rich. Money's not my God, I don't even have any. But as we start to look into our heart, as Jesus takes us through these verses, you realize you don't have to be rich for money to be your idol. You don't have to have more in excess than you ever wanted for money to be an idol. In fact, the lack of it can become just the equal drive to obtain it that pushes you away from God to hoping I can save myself if I get enough. So Jesus said it's hard for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven because his trust is in his ability to provide for himself. And then he says it's nothing, it's of no value if a man gains the whole world and loses his own soul. So once again, just like in this passage, Jesus is trying to shift us from a financial mindset, a return on investment mindset, on an accounting mindset with God, and to move from that into our hearts. What are we trusting in? What are we depending on to bring us that peace in life? What are we hoping is the answer for that burning in our hearts to find forgiveness and purpose and direction? Because those are the things that give us the happiness that we seek, the goals that we want to have. It comes in the heart. And so, in this passage that Jesus lays out as he goes through these statements, he arrives at this verse 22 and 23, which have a little bit of a curious thing if you read. It says, the eye is the lamp of the body. If your eye is healthy, the whole body's full of light. But if your eye is unhealthy or bad, depending on the translation, it says your whole body's full of darkness. And how great is that darkness? It feels a little different. Like he goes, in this order, and then he throws in this eye, healthy and unhealthy idea. So I was trying to figure out, what does that exactly mean? So when it says the eye is healthy, he's using a language kind of like play on words. That word healthy can be described in many ways. It's translated there as healthy, but it could be like full, or it could be open, or it could be light. And I was trying to think in an English way, like if you were, serving someone a healthy portion, right? What would that mean? Like you're generous with it. You're just like, oh, let me give you as much as you possibly want, maybe more, right? Like my grandma would feed me. It's going to be a healthy portion, and not healthy like I'm going to be good to go, but it's biscuits, and so it's like I'm going to give you as much as I can give you. And so this word healthy is also generous. It's being open. It's being free with things. It's saying, if your perspective of openness, if your perspective of generosity, says then your whole life is going to be full of this light and of this generosity in every area. So if financially you learn to be generous, guess what? In your relationships you learn to be generous. In your time you learn to be generous. In yourself, your compassion, all of those things you learn to be generous. It says, but if your eye is bad or unhealthy, that might be translated like stingy, where you're there grasping and making it as little as possible. How many of you like Chipotle? Is that a universal? I thought everyone liked Chipotle. Okay. Let's see. The worship team said that they would support me in anything I did. Do you guys like Chipotle? All right. Okay. So, you know that one of those fun things you do when you go down the line of Chipotle is that you just say what you want and they put it on there. So you're like, hey, I want the new steak that you got, the cilantro steak. Now, what happens when that person behind there gets that little tong and they put the smallest little pinch on your burrito? It's devastating, right? How many of you have the nerve to say, oh, excuse me, could you? Well, I don't. I don't feel like I can say that's not the right amount of steak, because they're like, we trained for 3 hours. This is exactly how much steak you get, right? It feels bad. That's all they're going to give you, the least they could put in that burrito, and you go away like, oh, great, you know? But what happens when you get that person that you're like, oh, yeah, I want the steak, and they're just like, scoop it on there, and you're like, I'll even pay $1.50 for guacamole. They're just like, good, you paid extra, you can have it. And that burrito is packed. What do you feel? Yes, because their eye was generous, and they were like, I don't pay for this stuff. Have as much as you want. I just work here for minimum wage, right? And they don't care. And so that generosity just is like, take it, have what you want. And that kind of automatically changes your whole outlook on that experience. And generosity does that in all of our life. If we go through life just barely measuring, how much does God say I have to give? Okay, that's how much I'll give. Oh, how much do I have to do to be a good person? Oh, I'm just going to do that much. Am I bad if I don't do this? Well, then I'm going to just not do this. And we begin to get stingy with our eyes. It says, I want to cut out as much as I can. I want to give the least I can. I want to do whatever's the minimum. I want to do what, and we have this mindset. We realize our whole world shrinks in on that. And it says, it's the great is the darkness in that life. He says, but when the eye is generous and you're saying, God, what do you want me to do? How could I serve? Where could I give? What could this do? And you begin to allow God to say, look, you've got it. Use it. Go for this. Do this. Then you start to see your world open up into what God can do for you in so many different areas, not just with money. I think a cool cultural example of how this works would be Mr. Beast. How many of you know who that is, Mr. Beast, right? So he's like the number one YouTube, I don't know what you call him, person. He's like, his YouTube channel is worth $1 billion. Can't even imagine what that is. He's actually worth $2.6 billion between his YouTube channel and his businesses. But in 2017, which is not that long ago, less than 10 years ago, he was nothing. He was just a regular guy in eastern North Carolina with no money, just grinding away in his room, trying to get something to go viral. And then once he got a video going viral and he started getting money in his hands, you know what he did to build his empire, his whole kingdom thing? He would just keep giving it away. If it came to him, and then his next video was, I'm giving this person $10,000. His next video, anyone who pulls into this restaurant, everything is free. His next video, if you can keep your hand on this Lamborghini long enough, it's yours. And he just kept using generosity, and then everyone wanted to watch. What's he giving away next? Who's he giving away to? And he used generosity to build this huge platform of a business just by having the mindset of, if it's coming in, I'm going to give it out. And he just kept it flowing like that. And even now, if you watch his stuff, it is crazy to watch. It's a social experiment on what people do when money is visible. And you watch, he's like, oh, you could win this money or you could share it with someone. What are they going to do? And you watch how the mindset of generosity and the mindset of stingy begins to change and reflect the character of the heart. You see, because where your treasure is, your heart is also. And so Jesus walks us through these things that we see everywhere in our culture around us. And he lands at this verse, the final verse that we had in that passage reading, verse 24. No one can serve two masters. You hate one or you love one. You can't serve both God and money. So he ends with this. Any idol will fail you because nothing can take the place of God. And so if money becomes your idol, if I just had this, I'll make it, it's going to fail you. If there's a relationship that becomes your idol, this person is the one who's going to make me complete, that's going to fail you. If there's an accomplishment that becomes your idol, if I could just get here and do this, it's going to fail you, because nothing can replace what only God can do in us. And Jesus walks us through that. Don't put your faith in money. It's going to fade and it's going to let you down. But turn your heart to something that's eternal. Lay up for yourselves treasure in heaven, because then your eye will no longer be stingy and selfish and inclusive of me, but it's going to open up to this generosity that now God is moving in all areas of your life because you see it. And no longer will you be servant to this master of money and self, but you will begin to see the true master in God. There's a Christian music artist, and he describes the gospel, a false gospel, this way. I want you to see this. I love the words in it. It says, the gospel of winning. Glory is in the presence of God. And that word presence, that's gifts, okay? In the presence of God, not in the presence of God. Think about that play on words a little bit. I thought it was powerful to me. So often for us, it's easy to look at our relationship with God in a transactional way. God, I'm here at church, so you should bless me. Look what I did. I came here. God, I gave in the offering, so you should take care of me financially. You owe me more than what I give. I planted a seed. And we began to think of our relationship with God as, what is God going to give me? I'm here for his presence, his gifts. And when we do that, we realize that even in our religious activity, we become stingy. We begin to seek a false God. One that says, I'll serve you, God, if you serve me more. Give me health. Take care of my family. Give me the money I need. Give me my future. Give me, and then God, I'll do. If we view God as an ROI, I'll put in as much as long as I get more back, then very soon our relationship will fracture. Because there'll come a day when you feel like God did not deliver. I prayed and he didn't answer. I came and he didn't give. And we fall away. Because every idol will fail us. Even the idol of winning. But the true gospel is this. The true gospel that Jesus has given to us is that God's generosity has already saved you. Just rest on the fact that God is already more generous than anything you could ever do for him. John 3:16, right? The verse most known by everyone. How does it begin? For God so loved the world. And so there in that very moment, you see the eye of God, his heart towards you, how he's open, how he's generous, how he is seeing what it is that he wants to do. What is his purpose? He says he loves the world so much that he gave. Giving. Generosity. Because of his open heart and love toward you, he was generous to us. God led with generosity. That's the only way we have any salvation at all, is because he loved you so much that he gave his only son, that whoever, anyone. See, God didn't look at you at an ROI, did he? He didn't say, who are the really good people I should save because they'll pay me back? No. It said God loved them so much that he gave his only son, that whoever. See, God didn't look at you at a return on his investment. He didn't look and say, what will I get back if I die on the cross? How good. What's the ceiling on that guy, Jeff? Will he actually pay off for me? No, it says, while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. And so that generosity that God is pouring out to you, I want you to receive that today. Just receive that. If you have not already come to that realization in your life that God loves you and He has already redeemed you, that you just need to turn to Him. He's done it all. He's not asking for more from you. He's not asking you to start writing checks and start volunteering and start doing, and then He'll do something for you. No, He says, I have loved you already, and you're mine. And when we understand that generosity, what happens to our heart? Now I'm just grateful. Now I'm just grateful. And so, yeah, God, if you present an opportunity for me to give, I want to give. Why? That's what God did to me. He's generous. If I get a chance to serve, why not? I mean, God's going to use me. If He wants to use me where you want to use me. God, if you have something for me, just put me in the place. Because where your treasure is, that's where your heart is. Let's pray. God, thank you so much that you showed us love before we even understood it. God, we know that we need a lot of retraining. We're all transactional. God, we come thinking, I can bring you something really good, God, if you'll just bless me. I got a lot of good things for you. Lord, you've had to teach us that you're more generous than we could ever be, and you're more gracious than we could ever be. So God, let that rest in our hearts. Take away the anxiety of money, the anxiety of not having enough, the anxiety of how long can we do this. God, put in it a healthy view of your kingdom on this earth. We're able to share in your glory and share in your work through our giving and serving. In Jesus' name we ask, amen.